And hello, fellow raiders. Welcome to another video in my journey through Raid Shadow Legends. And today we've hit another important milestone. The Doom Tower has been cleared. That's right, I finally made my way all the way up. Got the slowest time. But Sorath is dead, and I have a shiny new avatar, and this is the team I used. And victory is mine. But now that I managed to accomplish that just last night, this is end of March 2021. I thought I would take a step back and, while it's still fresh, reflect upon my thoughts on what I think of the Doom Tower. So as far as account progress goes, I have been working on a SkyTouch Shaman for a nuke team. I thought, okay, SkyTouch will come in, she will throw up her abilities, and then I'll combo her with Seer. Seer will just knock down those waves for me, right? Wrong. This did not work out. I built out a pretty decently geared Seer. She's 280 crit rate. Redid her masteries a bit to make even go into Helm Smasher, just get all that extra damage, and she's just a touch too weak to just blow down the waves. And I also don't have Kymar anywhere, so I can't just reset. So this path did not work out for me. So that was quite unfortunate. But anyway, what do I think about the Doom Tower? Let's talk about difficulty to start with. We've got normal and hard. Most people are familiar with that. Normal I thought was well done. When Faction Wars came out, I was still working, or excuse me, when Doom Tower came out, I was still working on Faction Wars. I had, I think, 5 factions left to complete in Faction Wars, and I decided I'm going to focus on building champs and invest resources in completing Faction Wars. So that's what I was doing. And I worked my way up the various sides of the tower as I could. In general, I don't have a problem with normal. I think anyone who's late into Faction Wars or completed it isn't going to have any trouble at all in normal. The only criticism I have of normal is it might be a touch too easy. And I only say that because the step up to hard is pretty big, right? You stop with you stop doing normal, you come over to hard, and hard is already a higher mob level than the last boss of normal. And that step up is pretty big. As far as hard goes, I think hard is a little overtuned. I know there was a rash of videos when all the big content creators were clearing it in the first month, going, "Oh, this is too easy," blah blah blah. And now that I've cleared it, I'm kind of thinking, those guys you see who cleared it month 1 with more legendaries built than you have champions built in total, or even in your entire vault. Those guys aren't playing the same game everyone else is. There should be no reason those guys don't blow through it. But people like me, who I've spent $25 on the Battle Pass and that was it, worked my way up slowly, and the same floors that gave everyone else trouble gave me a lot of trouble as well. And I still think those floors should be adjusted. I'll talk about that later. But in general, I think there should be a slight nerf to some of the floors and the bosses for hard. And I think that will come in time. If you remember early Faction Wars, they also were nerfed several times to allow people to get through it. And we haven't really seen the Doom Tower nerfed at all yet. Actually, it's been buffed a couple times during while it's been out, which is unfortunate. But that's neither here nor there. Moving on to the bosses. Let's talk about the bosses. Scare boss, we'll start with him. He's a terrible boss. Scarab boss is probably the worst one in here. I am not aware of a legit strategy to just put a 5-man team up against him and not either turn meter cheese him or something like a Vergis, Lupin, or what the Steadfast, whatever his name is, to just like solo him down. Uh, I don't really understand his or why the mechanics are the way they are. Uh, he just hits harder if you have multiple buffs. He taunts you, so you can't control anything. If you hit him while you with no shield, he counterattacks and taunts you again. It's ridiculous. Uh, he needs to be tuned, readjusted. His mechanics are just kind of garbage, in my opinion. I hit him with a turn meter cheese team, and that's fine for me. He never takes a turn. He eventually dies. Um, I haven't done. I'm the fastest one in my clan, which is surprising, at 5 minutes. That's kind of a surprising thing for me to see. I didn't know that, but I will farm this guy for the untouchable set because immunity's kind of good. So why not? Next, let's talk about the Nether Spider. Nether Spider is just kind of a war of attrition, in my opinion. Not a bad fight. Basically saying, hey, you should have healers and cleansers and shielders on your team. This is all I'm really using here. And I just have Doom Lord here that runs in, does decrease attack, decrease defense, and throws poisons out on everybody, and that's it. A few minutes later, the fight's over. I'm probably pretty slow. I am pretty slow. I don't farm Nether Spider because Nether Spider does Affinity Breaker set, and who cares? That's a triple set. Next is the Magma Dragon, and the Magma Dragon is just kind of a taunt fight, right? It's like, God, I don't think I used that there. Sometimes I just do an easy team to get by. Yeah, it's a combination of taunting and I'm using Sentinel just to keep attack down up on the boss, and also she will just negate one of his big attacks, and then I just poison her down with Frozen Banshee. I would prefer to use Zavia here, but my Zavia is built for level 20 dungeons and is not very powerful. And last but not least would be Frostbiter, who I think is actually a decent fight. I think the spider's HP burn / resist mechanic is bugged, though. The mechanic is supposed to be that the frost spider has increased defense and resistance if there is no HP burn on him or her. Um, However, I found that even when I placed an HP burn, I couldn't land any other debuffs either. So my Sathalia is running 580 plus accuracy. She could land the HP burn debuff. Doomlord's running about 330 accuracy. He can land the poisons on the Spiralings. He can land the attack down and defense down on the Spiralings. But even if this was burning, even if the boss is burning, he couldn't land them. And that should not be the case according to the info we have. But like I said, I think there's a bit of a bug with that, but I still got through it. Muddled through. Overall, the bosses, though, I would say all of them take too long. It's just too tedious. That's a common problem with the game at the moment is all these activities we have take way too much time. So that's something I hope they address in the future. As far as secret rooms go, I did all the secret rooms on normal, so they're relatively easy. Don't even really remember any that gave me any trouble. On hard, I've skipped 3 rooms. I skipped Epic Undeads. I may come back and do this one. I've only got, I can probably squeak that out at some point. I doubt I'll do it before reset, but in the future I could. I skipped rare attack champions because I don't really want to invest in building a bunch of rare attack champions. I have a few, but doing this does not interest me very much. And then I also skipped out on Epic Lizardmen because, uh, pardon my French, but F that faction, right? It's it's the Epics and Lizardmen are pretty terrible. I kind of refuse to build that room specifically. I just don't want to waste the time on it. I think it's perfectly reasonable to skip certain rooms so that uh, for one's sanity, let's say. I just don't want to invest in kind of worthless champions for just a secret room that provides me 3 fragments that I may eventually get anyway. I haven't really seen an answer to this question, but what happens once you get all 3 of your characters from a Doom Tower stage? Once you have them all, why do the secret room anymore? And if there's no bonus to doing it, I'm fine with getting the champion a couple months later. And there are so many champions in this game at the moment. There is not a drought of things for me to build personally. As far as things I would do in the game going forward, or I should say tweaks I would make, were I given creative direction of Doom Tower. First thing I would do is I would reduce the silver keys down. 10 a day is too much for these very long fights. I know a lot of people aren't even doing it. Then they added the advanced quests that give you 5 more. I would say, just give us 5 silver keys per day, double up or almost double up the crafting materials the bosses give you. Fewer boss fights for the same amount of materials. Fine by me. Less time, please. Another change I would make is I would allow you to use silver keys in place of gold keys, so that you have the option to push up the tower faster or farm bosses. Doesn't make sense to me on day 1, everyone comes in, goes right up to floor 10. That's the only guy you can farm, and he's not really worth the time. So I would prefer just to be able to have the option of either press up in one direction up hard or press up in normal. Another one I would do is, it would be great to get some autocompletes for these stages. And you do the same thing in Faction Wars, where some of these this is just a big time sink. It just takes too long to do a lot of these fights. Hopefully they have a general strategy to address that going forward. They just keep adding more and more things to do in the game, and it just takes way too much time for something you're supposed to be playing on your phone. As far as tiny nerfs, I did say hard was too difficult. The floors that gave me the hardest trouble were 109, Mortus, 112 with all the freezing, there were a bunch of torments here, and then 114 with the Sippy Rotoses. Those were particularly bad. I would say that the accuracy and speed requirements in general at this very high end are just a touch too high, but not terribly so. Siffy, the enemy Siffy running at 264 speeds, a little obnoxious. I would say speeds in general could be dropped about 10 to 20-ish. Like I said, just a tiny nerf. And I would probably lower resistances on some of the mobs, anywhere from like 30 to 50-ish. Not a huge nerf, but just a minor tweak down, because I think the numbers are a little high for most players. Kind of highlights how good perception gear is these days. Completely built by Lydia in perception. You have a Madame series, and you're really pushing your accuracy. You might build her in completely perception, but perception for me is pretty pervasive right now in terms of anyone I take into Doom Tower. At least most people I take into Doom Tower who need the accuracy. And my Warlord is now in immunity perception. So I would, and then my last general gripe would be You know, she needs a nerf. Her A1 and her passive with removing all debuffs from Rotos is a little too much. I won't even fight Civi Rotos teams in the arena, and Doom Tower is a good reason. It's a good example of why it's so bad. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on the Doom Tower. Just wanted to talk about what I thought of the experience now that it has been completed. Doom Tower is set to rotate next cycle. I may or may not be able to beat it next cycle. Who knows? The new bosses they've announced sound awful. Like, how are we going to do this kind of awful? We'll see. Who knows? It might be another squeaker where I'm completing the tower just before the next rotation sets in, and who knows? But for now, major milestone accomplished, and now I get to build champions out for, say, Shadow Confection Wars or whatever they do to rotate out the Doom Tower to make it more interesting, or the secret rooms. They haven't said they're going to rotate the secret rooms, but everyone's assuming that might happen as well. Anyway, those are all my thoughts, and this will be the end of the video. Thanks for listening, and have fun raiding.